So I do a lot of my reading on towards data science. And let's say we are searching for a topic, whatever that topic is. So I'm going to search for, I am not sure why it is not signing in. Hold on. Let me make sure that I have signed in. I don't know why my sign in went away. That's okay. So let me sign it with my, oh, they've changed a few things. That's why. And it is asking me to upgrade, which is very odd because I already have a paid account. So if you would give me a minute, let me try to see if I can find that. Hold on. That's strange. I was under the impression that this is the account that I'm using. Hold on. If this is not the one, then it must be my personal account, is it? Wait. And yeah, I think this is the one, right? So those of you who have not come across Medium, this is probably one of the best sources for articles related to data science, but to other areas as well, right? So let's take an example, right? So let's say I'm searching for something related to machine learning for absolute beginners. So if I type machine learning here, you notice that you don't really find one article or two articles or a dozen articles. You're going to find so much content available here. And the best part is that there is something for everybody, right? So for example, if you're looking for cheat sheets from an interview point of view, this is great. Let's say you're looking at a more easy approach towards ML, you can do that. If you want something more focused on practical hands-on, then you have that as well, right? Then there are these not technical articles, but there are these thought pieces. Like I'm sharing my experiences and learning with you. Like this, many people share their experiences with you in terms of how did they learn and how did that impact their work and things like that. So towards data science is an article that you absolutely should have on your bookmark, right? There's a lot of learning that I've had from towards data science, right? So you can just open towards data science. Towards data science is a section on medium.com that talks about technology and automation and business intelligence and data science, right? And you will find amazing articles available there, right? All right. Cool. So with that out of the way, let me come back to where we had left off in the last session, and we will continue from there. So it was yesterday, right? 28th. Perfect. Oh, also I found this really cool thing on LinkedIn. Somebody had shared this. There's a guy called, if I remember correctly, Steve. Yeah, Steve, right? I'm not sure how I pronounce his name correctly, but Steve, let's call him Steve now. Steve shared an article, shared a post where what he did was he shared, if I can show you once, he shared this PDF which has 800 data science questions from an interview point of view. Now, even though he has prepared it from an interview point of view, I think it's much more than that. You know, this is also a great way for you to get aware of different terms and different keywords. Like right now, if you haven't worked on ML, you will not even know what is reinforcement and what is k-means and what is support vector meshing. So at least to be able to get acquainted with these terminologies, right? This is great. And from an interview point of view, nothing like it. So if you notice something as simple as what is the goal of A/B testing, right? Something that we have been doing in digital marketing for so long. So you do an A/B testing, you have two campaigns that are running parallelly to see which campaign is better. So this is how there are these questions and the answers that have been given here. So something as obvious as sampling, which I'm sure all of you have studied prior to your MBA, and I'm sure you must have studied it in your MBA as well. This is like an absolute to the point visual way of quickly brushing up on all your interview questions, right? Like this. So it's a very nice curation of question and answers. And this includes so many different areas that I'm sure that there would be something in this for everybody, right? So I would request all of you to definitely have a look at it, even if a lot of it does not make sense to you right now. Like you might say, but so we haven't even worked on Python or R. So how do we even know how is this question appropriate to us? So what if you haven't worked on it? At least this question as to which one is better for text analytics, it gives you a very clear answer that Python would be the best option because it has the pandas and the NumPy library, right? R is more suitable for machine learning. So somewhere in the back of your mind, you make that mental note that, okay, there is this subtle difference between RM, which is a pure data science platform, and Python, which is a more general programming language, right? Like this, there are questions on all sorts of things, right? So you should definitely have a look at this. Like you might say, but why do I even care what is sudo in Linux? That's okay. Simply reading a single line will never hurt you. It will only make you smarter. You don't know when this information might be important to you, right? So if the attitude that you have is, but I don't need it, why should I study it? I don't think that's correct. You should tell yourself that anything that I study or anything that I read will help me at some point, somewhere or the other, right? So I will make sure to send it across to you as well, right? 800 data science questions. Perfect. Let's come back to what all we have done. So we have a dashboard. We have done the drill down.
Will you please share that in the chat box?
I will save it right away. Hold on. I will put it in the chat as well. I'm sorry, where did I save it? 800 data science. 800 data science questions. It's a little large. 16.648. Got it. Okay. So let's come back to where we had left off. So we have done a basic dashboard. Now you have a sense of how Power BI works and how different elements in a page have been created. We have done a few calculations as well. We did our date table. Date table is a must if you want to do calculations related to time intelligence functions. So things like YTD, MTD, QOQ, running total, all of that. How to create the date table? We went to the data view and we created a date table here. Because somebody asked me, how do we create a slightly more advanced date table? I showed you the basic one, which is calendar auto. And then of course we have done the slightly intermediate level, which is like this, which gives us further columns as well. For example, right now I also have the year, month number, the month number, day of week, and the day of week number. For our calculations, we did our QOQ example, which was like this, which we had written together. But then I had also told you that you can get this from a quick measure, right? Which is an automatic calculation. After that, we saw our custom visualizations. And then I also showed you how to do a tooltip, right? So in a tooltip, you can see that we have connected one chart to another chart, right? In the quick measure option, you will see a lot of different things, but you don't need all of it. The ones that you would need right now are YTD, QTD, MTD, YOY, QOQ, MOM, rolling average, and running total. There are many other things that have been given here, but would not really be relevant at the moment. If you're interested, of course, all of this has been covered in my DAX course, where all of these things have been explained in detail, right? Okay, after this, we also started with our model in which we had to combine different data sets together. We had not completed that problem. We had only started it. And I am not able to find that file. Just give me a moment. Where's my file? So October 02 model. And I think I saved it somewhere else in DE Shaw, September intermediate, Power BI solution. Okay, I just put it in the correct folder. October 2 model. Okay, this is the one. Perfect. So let me just quickly remind you what the problem statement was. We had the the sales for 3 years, 17, 18, 19. We also had the sales for another year, 2020. Then we had our category, discount, ID and name in different files, and we discussed this in a lot of detail as to why in an organization you have your data scattered, right, in different silos. So we had gone to get data from a folder, and then in Power Query, we had managed to combine the data from the 4 files together like this. So we have 17, 18, 19, and 20. And I also mentioned to you that all these steps that are happening, you don't really need to learn all of this because this is all automated. But if you want to be an advanced user of Excel or of Power BI, then you need to know step by step how we have the parameters, sample file, transform, and then on the right side, we have all our applied steps. But if you're a basic user, then you don't really need to get into so much detail. You just need to know that I select my folder and how many so ever files that are there, they will be combined together, right? This is where we left off. Today, I will be spending about another 30 minutes on this, talking about how we can combine the other 3 files as well and merge everything into a single data set. After that, we start with Tableau, right? Any questions so far? Anyone?
Sir, about that quick measure thing, we have date table and some of.
Correct.
Yeah. So, sir, we don't need to define that if we are having that quick measure. Like, sir, we have defined that date table. We have written the code for it. So it's already there. So we don't need to do that.
See, let me show that to you once again. I'm going back to the same data set that we had 20th September. We had done that example on QOQ, right? Where I showed you have to calculate, you have to shift the quarter by 1, which is date add. The exact same thing. If you wanted to do automatically, what you could have done is, give me a moment. So the exact same thing, if you wanted to do it, you could have gone to quick measure. There is already an inbuilt calculation for my QOQ, which is quarter over quarter change. I select that. Base value is my sales value. And then date is my date table. Okay, not the order date, but from the date table that we created, which is, let me minimize everything else. This one, date table, I have my date. So I'll select that date and put it in date. That's all you have to do. You just have to copy and drag and drop, basically. And the moment you click on OK, you notice that, voila, it automatically writes that entire formula for you. How cool is that, right? This is the same thing we did, right? We declared a variable, then we did a calculate, sum, date add, -1 quarter, return. Everything that we have done, which is what was done manually before, right? Let me just remind you. This is the formula that I had written manually. Now the same thing has been written automatically. A few small changes will be there, like they have also done an if error, but we don't really need that, but they have added it in any case. Right? Is that clear? How we created the quick measure?
Yes, sir, that is clear. And one more thing, that date table we need to define, right? That is not
100%, absolutely. So just because we are using a quick measure, everybody, let me just come back to my notes. Whether you create quick measure or whether you create a measure from scratch, without the date table, you cannot write formulas or you cannot use quick measure. It will not work properly, right? So this is, like I said, this is mandatory. It is not that I'm telling you that, oh, it is preferable or you ideally should do it. You have to do it. If you don't do the date table, your calculations will not work, right? So this is like the absolute first thing that you have to do in a model. Now, some people say, but if this is so important, why was this not done by default? See, by default, there is a hidden date table created. That is why your visualizations are working. That's why we were able to, if you remember, that's why I was able to create my dashboards, because there is a hidden date table. But it will not enable me to write calculations on top of it, right? So it's a little technical. There is a hidden date table that is always created automatically, but you cannot use that for creating your own calculations. You can only use it for inbuilt visualization. So my short, simple answer is, whether your data set is small, large, complex, simple, finance, HR, marketing, doesn't matter. The first thing you have to do when you get a data set is to make a date table and to create a relationship. Even though today you might not need it, you might need it in the future. So it's better to keep it with you at all times. Right? All right. So coming back to my model, right? So I hope this part was clear. We had gone to get data from folder. We have selected all the 4 files and everything has been combined together. Okay, the problem is that I do not have my customer name. Remember, we only have the customer ID, but that is not sufficient because if I'm presenting a report, I want to show who the top 5 customer names were by their name, not just by their ID, right? So let's also select our next file, which would be my ID and name, everybody. So Excel workbook, and we select ID and name. Right. So in the Excel folder, you have 010 Power Query and Power Pivot, and in that you have sales data. And this is the file that we are working, ID and name. Right. Now, the moment you select the file, it's very simple. It shows you the data. And if you look at the preview of the data, it doesn't seem that there is anything wrong with it. I'm not sure why the preview is not opening. That's okay. We can click on transform directly. And now you notice, everyone, that we have 2 queries with us, right? My first query is 17, 18, 19. My second query is ID and name, right? Please make sure all of you are at this point. Right, everyone? Okay, can you tell me what are the 2 problems in this data set? Just by looking at this, can you tell me what are the 2 problems in the data set? Look very carefully.
Names have comma and it's not properly written. Like we cannot understand that it's a name or not.
Right. So the position of the last name and the first name has to be swapped, right? So it should not be Powers, comma, space, Darren. It should be Darren Powers. It should be Felina over. It should be Mick Brown, right? That's one issue that we have to fix. What is the other issue that you see? Look very carefully. Let me give you a hint. Apply, just click on the drop down on the first column and tell me if you're able to spot what the issue is. Just click on this drop down and tell me if you can spot what the issue is. Anyone? Can you see what the issue is?
So what is that null?
Exactly. What is that null, right? There should be no null values, right? Like if I go back to my Excel file, you don't need to do it. I'm just showing it to you. If I go back to my Excel file, you will notice that it's a very simple data. We have a heading, then we have the records below it. So you notice that we have the heading CID and name, and we have 490 row names below it. But if you notice, there is nothing below it. There are no blank cells. I mean, there are no values written in any other cell. But can you see how many rows are there? You can see this here, everyone. Look at my arrow. This one. It says there are 793 rows. But why are there 793 rows? There should be 492, right? And that is the problem. Power Query has picked up some null rows, right? Now, if I select the null rows, you see that they are null. There's nothing for me to say. It has picked up 301 null rows. Now, you might ask me, but why has it picked it up? Like in the Excel file, there is nothing funny happening, right? It's a simple data, and there is no reason for it to pick up the null rows. And if it has picked up the null rows, why is it picking up 792 and not 1000 or 10,000? So it's very hard to explain these things because there are many reasons for it as to why when we pick up data from an Excel file, it might sometimes not get picked up perfectly, right? Now it sounds very dangerous when I say that it doesn't get picked up perfectly. How do you know when it does, when it doesn't? So you have to be careful. Whenever you load your data, right? What are we doing at this step? We are saying, whenever we are extracting the data, so we are saying extracting it from the Excel into my Power Query window, I have to transform it, right? Because before I load it back to Power BI, I have to make sure these null rows have been removed. Otherwise, the count will not be correct. Otherwise, certain calculations might not work correctly. How do I remove the null? Very simple. Just deselect the null values and click on OK. And now you notice you only have 492 rows, not 793. Right? Please do this, everyone. Please filter out.
So my file is not getting imported. Can I share my screen once?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so basically I'm going in a Excel file and adding this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not getting me, giving me the option of transform or load.
You have to
So
select the sheet, no?
I don't know.
No, you have to double click on the sheet. Double click. No, the one below that. Open
Okay.
this, correct? And either select the checkbox or double click on it. Or select the checkbox if that's not happening.
Okay. Okay.
Transform data.
Got it.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. So we have figured out one problem and we have fixed it. Now you also notice this color is green. Earlier it was coming as green and black. So it was telling you that, Havish, we have detected that there are 301 empty rows in your data, right? Now let me come to filtered rows and you notice that it's working perfectly. Now let me show you a little bit of how it's a very loose analogy when I say that this is machine learning, but it is a much more improved version of flash fill on Excel, right? On flash fill on Excel, you remember that I can do the same thing if I wanted. So without asking you to do it, I just want to show it to you. In Excel, if I wanted to fix my name, I could have written Darren, okay? It would have given me only the first names. If I wrote Darren pass, it would have again given me the result. But there are two big limitations here. Number one, it is not dynamic. So if you add or edit any name, the result will not change. Second limitation, there is no formula in the formula bar. It is just giving you the result, which is great, but I'm not really learning anything. I'm not able to reuse my formula or I'm not able to build on that formula. So I can't add something to the formula because Excel says, Havish, you wanted the result. I'm giving you the result, but you can't do anything with it. I can't do anything else with it, right? Because it is only giving me the result, not giving me the formula. That is what Power Query will allow me to do. So we go back to Power Query and you notice that I will select my column name. We will select add column and we will select column from examples. Everyone, you notice that the shortcut is also the same as Excel, Control E, right? So I select column from examples. Now it is asking me which column do you want to select? Do you want to select CID or do you want to select name? But at the moment, I don't want to select the customer ID, right? We just want to select the name. So I will deselect the customer ID. What does it say? It says, Havish, please enter some sample values to create a new column. That means it is asking me to give an example. So I'm going to teach it that, okay, this is what I want. I want Darren. The moment I write Darren, what is happening? You notice that all the results are coming. Also, you notice that it is building your formula. It is saying text dot after delimiter. That means it is automatically creating a formula for you. It is telling you that, okay, Havish, if you want to take out the value after the delimiter, which is your space, then the function will be text dot after delimiter. But what if I say, no, I'm not happy with the answer because I want Darren parse like this. So it is a little confused. It says, but I don't really know what you want. So I have to teach it one more time. So I will give it one more example. I will say Filina Ober. And now you notice it is building my entire formula for me. How cool is that? So this entire formula that you see, everyone, this in Excel, you will have to learn it and you will have to write it every single time, right? But this is auto formula because you just have to give 2 samples and Power Query is able to build the entire formula for you, right? Like this. That's it. You are getting all the answers. Click on OK and you get your result like this. Please check this, everyone. Any questions, anybody? Right, I'll just do it one more time. We go to add column and then column from examples. I have to give it a few samples. It might be 1 or 2 or 3 samples. So I'm giving Darren parse. That doesn't work. So let me give one more sample. I'm going to give it Mick Brown. I'm happy with the results that we are getting. And if I click on OK, then a new column has been created like this, right? And also you have this gear icon on the right side. If you click on that, it will show you what formula has been written like this. I'm not getting into details right now because this has been explained very well in my course, right? It's also good homework for all of you to go back and try to deconstruct the formula and try to see if you're able to understand it or not. But you don't really need to understand it, but sure, I mean, if you're interested, then you should definitely have a closer look at it, right? Any questions, anyone? Once we have this, we don't need the original column, so I can right click and remove it. And this one I can rename to the name, right? So which is great. So from this point where we had Pause, Darren, Ober, Filina, we have managed to change it to Darren Pass. And this is all fully automated because tomorrow if I add one more name, I don't have to copy paste my formula, right? For example, right now you can see that I have the last name as Dennis Monton. If I come back and I add one more name here, 9999, and I say, I'm just writing my own name here, right? You notice that if I come back and refresh, can I see this, everybody? It has automatically picked up the last name and just cleaned it. Flashfill would not do this. In Flashfill, you have to apply Flashfill every single time a record gets added. Right. Now the question is that I have 2 different data sets. I have 1719 and I have ID and name. But we need to combine everything together, right? So in 1719, I have 11 columns with me. But I do not have one of the columns that is very important to me, which is my customer ID, right? Customer ID is only a part of the field. We also need the name that is connected to the ID, because each ID will have a name associated with it. But we know that customer ID is also given in this file, which is this one, and the result is in the second column. So this is similar to how you would have done a VLOOKUP. But you don't have VLOOKUP in Power Query. You have something even better than that, which is a merge, right? So this is my button, everyone. Merge essentially means that you want to combine two data sets together by merging it. So if you look at the icon, it says that you're putting one table on the right side of the other table. You're literally increasing the number of columns. Append means that you're adding more rows. Merge means that you're adding more columns, right? Just remember this always. Merge is adding more field, which is adding columns. Append is adding more records, which is adding more rows, right? So obviously we want to merge it, right? We don't want to increase the number of rows. We want to increase the number of columns by 1. So we go to merge query, and it asks us which are the two tables that we have. So my first table is 1790. My second table is ID and name. I'm going to select customer ID and customer ID, right? Just select the two columns. You have to click on the two columns and click on OK. Now, some of you must be thinking, but why is it giving me the entire table? See, that is the way a merge works. So when you merge two tables, the entire table gets merged. But we don't need the entire table, right? So if I click on this expand button, why do I need the ID and the name? I already have the ID with me. So I only want to select the name like this, right? And the result would be like this. So you notice that now I have my customer ID as well. And I also have my customer name. I can also shift it to the left like this. Right? And this is my data, everyone. Let's also rename it to customer name. Please try this and let me know if you have any questions.
So what you did last time is that.
Okay, have you clicked on merge queries first? On merge, can you share your screen so that I can give you the answer and others can watch as well?
Okay, okay.
All right. Okay, I'll tell you the mistake that you have made before anything else. Which one is your master data? Is it ID and name or is it 1790?
Yes, 1719.
1790. That means that anything that you want to add, you don't want to add it to ID and name. You want to add it to
Okay.
1790. Right? So not to worry, just
Yes.
cancel the last step. Just delete the last step, merge queries. Correct. Now go to 1790. Select the sheet that you have. Correct. Merge query. Select the two tables. Perfect. Customer ID, CID. Click on OK. Now the entire table has been merged, but we don't need both the columns. So you click on that double arrow that you see on the column. Correct.
This
It is
one?
asking you that do you want both the column or do you only want one of the column? We already have the ID.
Okay.
So there's no point of keeping the ID one more time. So we only want to select the name. Correct. You can also double click to change the name of the column. Just
That
double-click.
I know.
Perfect. Great. Anyone else? Any other question? Right? Okay. Let us close and apply so that we can upload our second Excel file. There are two examples left. So we have our category and we have our discount, right? Which we want to complete the example.
Sir, I have one query. Sure, wait. So should it always be a merge file, or I mean merging two columns, or can we add any other column?
See, merging simply means that you already have the data with you and you are simply pulling the data and adding it, right? But when you say that I want to create a new column or I want to compute it, that is a calculation. For example, if I say that I have my sales, right? And I would like to multiply my values by 1000. I'm just taking an example. So I can go to add column and I will say standard multiply, and I will multiply by, let's say 1000. So what it does is it creates a new column where all the values have been multiplied by 1000. So this is the addition of a new column. But merge means that the data is already there. You're just pulling the data. That's all.
So like pulling the data if two columns are matching, right?
It has to, right? That absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so for example, if I, like right now, there are 17 of you in this workshop for today's training, right? If I want to know what is your specialization, how will I do that? I know your IDs. I will search for your ID in the institute student database. And which column will I pull from there? The one that I want, which in this case is the specialization. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir, that makes sense. I was asking that can we add any other column from any other file? Like if we have in ID and name file, if we have some other column and
you
we
can
don't
add
have
as many columns as you want. In our case, we only had 2 columns. That's why we only added 1. But if you wanted to add 5 columns, you could have done that. Absolutely.
what if there isn't any match between the
There has
two?
to be there has to be a match, right?
Okay, that's what I was asking.
For example, if I only have your names with me, the 17 people who are with me right now, and I want to do a match with the student database from the institute, can I do that? If I only have your names, can I do it? Yes or no?
Sir, like I don't get it.
If I have all the 17 names, you guys who are there in the workshop right now, and I want to search for your specialization, can I do that from the institute database that is there?
No,
I can't. Why not?
because like we have some other file, or
Because
we
the
have
name
something
is
to
not
merge.
unique. Because the name is not unique, right? So for example, if I say that, okay, I know that we have a Chetan Saxena, right? Who's there in the group right now. And I search for Chetan Saxena in the institute database. Is there a guarantee that there's only one Chetan Saxena? Of course not, right? So I can't do a match if I don't have a unique field with me, which has to be a product code, student ID, GL code, UPC code, something like that, right? Like in this case, we were searching for the ID because I know that the ID will be unique, right? 2 people can't have the same customer ID.
Yes, I'll get it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we go to close and apply, and we want to select our next Excel file, which is category.
Sir, one thing
Yeah.
last. Can we merge more than 2 tables at a time?
No, only you can't do that. If you want to do like a 3 table merge, then you have to merge 2 tables first and then do a merge on top of that, right?
Got
But
it,
at the
got
same time, Power Query doesn't allow you to do that. You
Okay.
can create a nested function in the sense that if you are comfortable with the formulas and all, you notice that this was my merge query formula, right? This one, table.nested join. If you wanted to, you could have done a table.nested join on top of this. Like you create a long Excel formula with if and if, like that you could have done it. But manually, by clicking on the ribbon and all, there is no way to do that, right?
Okay.
All right, so we select our category file, everyone. Can you tell me what are the 2 issues that you see with this file right now? Everyone, what are the 2 issues that you see with the file?
It's taking null value for the blank cell.
Okay, and why is it null? What does it mean?
It means those subcategory thing are under the category of furniture only.
Correct, right? So this is a very common way for data to be given to you. When you're working with pivot tables, when you're working with SAP, it's very common to get a data set this way. Because for a system can understand what this is, right? A system understands that the first 4 are furniture, the next 9 are office supplies, and the next 4 are technology. But I don't like it, because if I am trying to apply a filter or a sort or do some calculation, I need to fill up the value. So I will need to do this, right? I'll need to copy and paste. Of course, we don't want to do that manually, right? What is the other issue that you see? One is the null value. What is the other issue that you see? Please look carefully.
Sir, category and subcategory thing is
What?
it is with the data itself, like in a row.
Correct. So what I would say is that category and subcategory are supposed to be the headers, right? But it is not reading it that way. It is not
Yes,
understanding that
Yes.
category and subcategory is the header. So it is creating a blank header for you, column 1 and column 2. Now, most of the time when someone sees this, just let me get some water. Just give me 30 seconds. All right. So I was saying that this is a very common problem that you will come across. I will not even call this a problem. It's just something that happens, right? Especially when you're trying to read data from Excel files. Many times, Power BI will not understand what is the heading and what is not the heading. Like in this case, category and subcategory are supposed to be the heading, right? But it did not understand that it is the heading. At least 50% of the time, this issue will happen. So don't worry if this happens. Don't feel that, oh, I made a mistake or my data is not correct. You did not make a mistake and your data is also not incorrect. It is just something that happens in Power BI, right? But thankfully, they have given a button, a feature to fix this, right? We'll see how to do that. So we click on transform. Now, what I want to do is I want to promote my headers. That means this is my first row, right? I want to promote it. That simply means I want to shift it and make it the header. How do you do that? There is a button here called use first row as headers. Please click on that, everyone. You notice that it does exactly what we wanted it to do. It made my first row as the headers. So furniture, chairs is a record, but category and subcategory have become the headers, right? So that is the first bit of cleaning that we had to do. The second issue that I have here is that I have all these null values. In Excel, to fix this, there are a few different methods, but there is no one-click method, right? It all takes a little bit of time and effort. In Power Query, all you have to do is right-click, fill, and down. That's it. Right-click and then fill, down.
So
So
how
for
do they,
what, can you please repeat
Which part?
this fill part? So why we do that?
You simply, because we want to fill these values, right? Furniture has to come here, office supplies has to come here, technology has to come here.
Okay. Okay.
Right? That's why. So we are simply doing right click and then fill and down.
so how to undo in this?
Right. If you have done something, if you performed an action and you would like to delete it,
Okay.
simply
Yeah.
cancel it from here. Right? You can't press Control Z, that will not work, but you can cancel it from here.
Sir, in case we have done a lot of changes in this table and after deleting it, it will delete all of these. And if we want to delete only one change, then
See, usually if you have done, let's say 20 changes, let me go back to this one, right? So right now I have about what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? I have 11 of them. It's very unlikely that you would want to delete something in the middle because it will have a domino effect, right? For example, if I delete a step here, it is going to give me a warning saying that, Havish, you're going to delete this step, and deleting this step may have an effect on the subsequent steps, and your query might break. So are you sure you want to do that? So unless you're very sure that deleting a step in the middle will not have an impact on the other steps, you should not do that, right? I mean, this is considered a very advanced topic, and only advanced users like me would know when to take that call to delete a step in the middle. Because if we delete a step and that impacts all the other queries subsequently, then it becomes an issue, right? So it is always recommended that even if you have to delete something, go line by line, okay? Don't delete something that you have already done. That's why you have to be very careful, right, of the steps that you're performing. You should not do steps haphazardly and willy-nilly, whatever you want to do and whenever you want to do. You have to first create a skeleton, create a process that this is how you want to clean the data.
and one more thing, sir, like in this case, our first row is category and subcategory, we shifted it upward. In case first row is null and second row is category subcategory, then
You do it 2 times.
okay.
Then you click on first row as headers 2 times. Like for example, if I wanted to shift furniture and chairs as the top row, I could have done it 1 more time, like this.
Okay,
Fair
sir.
enough? That might happen, right? Definitely it is possible that you had a data set where there were 2 blank rows at the top. So you might have to do it 3 times or 4 times. If you have 10 blank rows at the top, then you could have also removed the 10 blank rows in one click. You could have said, I want to remove the top 10 rows like this. See, Power Query
If you
has,
want to interchange any row,
tell me again.
if you want to interchange any row, like for
Interchange.
example,
I don't follow.
yeah,
What is the
the
meaning
way
of
we are
interchange?
like the way we are moving the category and subcategory to header. What if you wanted to office supply and furniture to interchange one another? Like furniture comes next and office supply go up.
You can't really do that. I mean, you can, but to do that simple thing, it is going to take you at least 5-6 steps, right? There is no easy way of doing it. Like, I will tell you how I would have done it if I had to, right? Please watch. I will first create a conditional column, okay? So I will say add column, conditional column. I say that furniture, if my category is equal to furniture, then it should be number 2, okay? I will add another clause saying that if my category is equal to office supplies, then it is equal to 1, right? Otherwise, it should be 3. That means technology is 3. So I will get these numbers here. Now I can sort the number. I will say sort ascending. This way, office supplies comes above, furniture comes second, technology comes below that, and then you can remove it. Now I know it seems like a very funny approach because in Excel, you don't have all this problem. No, you just cut it and you paste it and you shift the other rows down. But when you're working on SQL or whether you're working on NumPy or Pandas or ggplot, whatever it is, any library, dplyr, or you're working on Power Query or SQL, you have to understand that data transformation has to be done systematically. Excel is very funky. You can just copy, paste, cut wherever you want, whenever you want. Tools are not that flexible, right? Tools are more rigid. That's why you notice I first had to create a conditional column, then I had to sort it, and then I had to sort the data. After that, I had to remove that column. Hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir.
But you can't just cut it and paste it. If that is what you're expecting, that can't I just select a column and cut it? The right click does not even work. You can't even select a row and cut it. That is not possible. Right? Good. Any other question? Okay, let's quickly wrap it up because we have one more sheet to cover. I would like to start with Tableau. You notice it is also called sheet 1, which is not correct. It should be called what it is, right? So it should be by category and subcategory. So please change the name of the query, everyone, category and subcategory. So I have my sales data, which is sales 2017 to 2020. I have my ID and name, and then I have my category and subcategory, like this. All good? One final file. I know we have taken a lot of time on this, but this is important. So home and then close and apply. So now you notice there are 3 data sets that we have. One is sales, the other is ID name, the other is category subcategory. And in sales, I have everything I need. I have the customer ID and the name. I have the subcategory, right? As well as the category. I'm sorry, where's the category? Oh, we haven't done the merge, right? I'm not doing it. You guys can practice it later if you want. I don't want to spend time on it. It's exactly the same thing what we have done. Sales, merge, right? I will select category and subcategory. Subcategory is the common column, right? I click on OK, expand, and then I only select my category. I'm not doing it, everyone, because like I said, we have already done the same thing before. You can practice it later if you want to. What I would like to show you is the final sheet that we have. Let's please select that. So we have our discount file, everyone. Let's wrap up the example with this. We have the discount file. Okay. Now, this time you notice that one problem is that the heading is not coming properly. But there is another problem. I will come to that in a bit. Let's go to transform data. Now see, the first part you already know. This is my discount. And I know that the heading has to be promoted. So basically the first row has to be promoted. So I click on use the first row as headers, and you can see that the first row becomes the header. Please do this, everyone. First row as headers. Okay. Now, can somebody tell me what is the problem in this data set? I will give you a hint. Hopefully that should help you. Anyone? Can you make out what the problem in this data set is? See, clearly there is a problem. Otherwise, I would not ask you. It is not to do with any error or anything. No null values, no duplicate values, but there is something that is not quite right. What is it?
Sir, 1.2, 1.2.
That is okay. These are percentages, but they have been presented as a decimal number. That is okay. That is not a problem. What else?
Is it like consumers consist of all the consumers, and then in the consumers only corporate and home offices are there? Like it is a bifurcation of that.
No. So it's not a segregation. Consumer, corporate, and home office are different. Let me try to give you another hint because I would like you to think of it in the right direction. Okay. Hold on. Taking a very simple data set, I'm writing specialization, right? And in this, I'm going to write HR, marketing, and then finance. I'm writing the student ID here. So I'm writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And I'm writing the name here, okay? So I'm writing ABCDEF. And then one more thing that we want to write. We want to write the preference. So we'll say the preference here is in business partnering. The preference here is in sales. It's in analytics, right? It's also in analytics, and this is in sales. Now, this is one way of presenting my data. This is one way of preparing the layout of my data, right? The same data set I could also have prepared in a slightly different way, where I could have said that I have my ID here, right? Then I have my name next to it. Then I have HR, then I have marketing, and then I have finance, right? And if you don't want to see the name, you could have simply said that in next to this, we also have the preference. So I have business partner, and I have sales, and I have analytics. And then in business partner HR, we have 2 people who are interested like this. What is it that we are doing right now? Using the same data that I have on the left, what am I creating right now? What is this?
Matrix.
Okay, think of some other term that we use in Excel. What do we call it?
Data table.
No. I'll give you a hint. What do we call it? What am I
So
creating right now?
Grouping.
Pivot table, guys.
Achha.
Isn't this a pivot table? Tell me, if I had taken my data set, right, and I had made this into a pivot table, I'll put it on the same sheet.
Yes, sir.
I will put it here. So existing worksheet, and I'm going to select this cell, right? If I put this here and I say, okay, let me put my specialization in columns and my preference in rows and my ID in values. What are we doing? We're creating a summary of the data, which is great because it's easier to look at. It's easy to read what we have right now. But the catch is that it is not in a tabular format. A table means what? A table means that you need to have one column for one field. Right now, that is not happening. You notice that analytics, business partner, sales are items, which is okay. But what about finance, marketing, HR? Why is it coming as 3 different columns? It should be coming in one column, right? Not in different columns. Now, this concept is called pivoting. We all know what a pivot table is. So tell me, is this data in a pivoted format or is it in a tabular format?
Pivoted format.
Pivot.
Do all of you see it now? Does it help when I make my heading highlighted like this? This is a pivoted format. No? So if this was unpivoted, if this was a raw data, can you tell me what should have been the order of columns in it? What would have been the first column?
So subcategory, then
One second. Subcategory. After that,
type of consumer,
which is the segment. And then finally, what is the third column?
discount.
The discount. Do all of you agree with me?
And I think it has to have like same number of rows like we have in the other file.
Okay, let me ask you. There are 17 subcategories and each subcategory has 3 segments. So how many rows will be there in total? How many rows will be there? 51, right?
51.
Everyone agrees with me? Now see, this is something which is very interesting because we have all been taught and we have learned how to make a pivot table. So from a raw data, we have been told and taught how to make a summary, which is a pivot. Now I'm asking you to do the opposite. I'm asking you that you already have a pivot with you. But that is not good because Power BI cannot understand a data set like this. If I ask you a very simple question, what is the average discount? You can't tell me. Why not? Because your discount is in 3 different columns. That doesn't make any sense. Your discounts have to be in a single column, right? So before I tell you how to do it here, remember this is nothing specific to Power BI or Power Query, right? So when we talk about unpivoting, you notice that we can do it in SQL, we can do it in Oracle. If you say unpivot in Python, right, you can see here, we have the same concept of unpivoting. So that clearly tells you that, okay, this is not really something which is a problem in Power Query. It is a concept. It's a data cleaning concept that whenever I have so this is done on pandas, right? On Python. Even if you've never worked on Python, I don't know if you have or not. I assume you have a little bit. This is what you would do here, right? So I will say that I have a data frame with me. So I have foo, bar, baz, and zoo. And then this is the way that I have the data. Then I'm doing a pivot. So I'm doing a data frame dot pivot. So df dot pivot. My index is my FOO. That is what you're getting here. Then you have columns as the bar. That means because you have ABC as the 3 items, you're creating 3 columns from it. And the values are coming from this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. Then obviously you can do an unpivoting as well. Right? This is called an unpivoting. When a data like this, the one on the left, is unsummarized into the data like this. There are many other terms attributed to it. So we have something called cross tab. Right? A cross tab is what? Everyone? A cross tab is another term for what?
Creating a pivot table in
Pivot.
Python.
Right? So when you work on SPSS, the term that we usually use is cross tab because you have an option here for cross tabs. I don't know if you have worked on SPSS or not, but you have an option in IBM SPSS for cross tabs. Different terms, all referring to the same concept, right? So whether, like I said, you're working on Python or R or SQL, at the end of the day, what you're doing here is called an unpivoting. That is just basis the way the data has been given to you, right? So this is done in BigQuery, which is for big data, same concept, right? Cool. Any questions, anyone? Anyway, I won't get into detail here. I've already told you what to search for, and you should be able to do that on your own. Right? Okay. So for such a complex topic, complex in the sense that there's a lot of reading that you have to do, and it is a pervasive topic. Everybody has to learn what it is. Considering the fact that there is so much to study and it is working on different platforms, actually doing it is one of the easiest things to do, right? So it's very ironical that it's such a big topic, but doing it is very easy. All you have to do is, I will select my 3 columns, everyone. So I'll select consumer, corporate, and home office. And all I have to do is right click and unpivot. That is it. It's so simple. Like before Power Query was there doing this in Excel, I had to write a VBA code, and that used to be a huge hassle, took a lot of time, would not work properly, right? There were so many challenges that were there. Now it's so easy. You simply select the 3 column, you click on unpivot, and that's it. You get 51 rows like this, which is what we wanted. So this is my segment, and this is my discount.
Will you please explain again this?
Can you share your screen? I'll help you. Others can also see that way.
Yes, sir.
Right. Can you select the consumer column?
Yes.
Press Shift and select the last column, home office.
Shift and
Shift. Press the Shift key and then click
Okay.
on the home office column because you want to select all the 3 columns, right? Correct. Now right click and click on unpivot columns. That's it. So like I said, it's very funny that for such a big topic, performing the action as such is not very difficult. But then you have to understand why we are doing it, right? Because simply learning the right click is not the difficult part, but you have to learn why this concept of unpivoting is so important, right? Any questions, anyone? All good? Okay. Let's just spend another 2 minutes and close this example. Now I have my sales data and I would like to see the discount here, right? Because that's how I will calculate the net sales. But the problem is I have to do another merge. Let me click on merge. And can somebody tell me what is it that we are trying to merge here? Think about it before you answer.
Segment with segment.
But how? How? If I tell you that consumer segment, does consumer segment have a unique discount to it, or are there multiple discounts?
We will select both subcategory and segment.
But do you understand why you can't just select one column, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Because if you say, okay, let's select chairs, right? I can't do that because chairs, or let's say furnishings, does not have a unique discount. Furnishings has 3 different amounts dependent on the segment. You can't select the segment because one segment does not have one discount. It has different discounts, right? So what we're going to do now is I will select segment. I will press control, the control key, and I will click on subcategory. I hope all of you can see there are these numbers coming here, 1 and 2. That means I've selected not just one column, but I've selected 2 columns. The same thing I'll have to do here as well. I will select segment. I will click on control and I will select subcategory. And again, you notice I'm selecting 2 columns like this. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Right? That's it. Click on OK. The table has been merged. Expand. Select the discount. And now you have the discount for each of the transactions that you had. Right? Any questions, anyone? See, this is 80% of your time, okay? If I can just show you a slide here to drive the point home. So, hold on. Whether it's you or me, or any other data analyst or any other data scientist in the world, wherever they are, 80% of your development time always goes into taking the data, using Power Query and creating models. The part where you have to create the visualization, right? Either on Excel traditionally or now on Power BI, the reporting and the dashboarding is only 20 part of your time spent, right? And this is something which is not just a thumb rule. This is almost what we have to do for every project, right? 80% of your time will always go into what we just did today, working on Power Query, cleaning the data, figuring out what the issues are, getting it into a format that you would like to work on. After you get the data in a hygienic format, then creating the visualization is not difficult. That is child's play, right? But the challenge here is to get the data in the right order. Right? That's why I wanted to share this with you. All right. Any questions, anyone? Just wanted to check something quickly. Okay. All good? Okay. So let's quickly recap what all we have done. So we have taken the data from 4 files, which is 17, 18, 19, 20, which was from a folder. Sorry, why is my tool not working? 1 second. Hold on. Let me restart it. Epic pen. Okay. So we have taken the data from 4 files, 17, 18, 19, and 20. We have taken an ID and name, where we did column from examples. We have taken category and subcategory, where we did fill down and promoted headers. We have done discount, where we did unpivoting. And of course, we have done merge 3 times to bring everything together. So now my sales table has 14 columns in it. It has everything that we need. Okay. If you require to get this data back on Excel, you can also click on this button to copy the entire table, and you can paste the data back to Excel also, if required. Needless to say, the same example has been covered in my course as well. So if you would like to go through the entire process, and I think you should, and if there is any step that you are not very comfortable with, you can either rewatch the recording from the workshop, or I have covered exactly the same example in my Power BI course. Okay. 1 second. So in my Power BI course, I have covered exactly the same example, right? ID, unpivoting of discount, the name, everything has been covered. Perfect. I'll just take up if there are any questions, and then we will start with Tableau, so that we just set the tone for tomorrow. And then of course we'll continue tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 1.5 hours with us. So we spend about 45 minutes on Tableau to an hour, and then 30 minutes on PowerPoint. Any questions?
So in the real world, like if we need to present our visualization, so we need to present on the Power BI only, right? So is there any something that so that we can export the data from Power BI?
Let me open the file first. So after you have prepared your entire report, you can click on publish. This report will get published to your Power BI workspace, which is a folder on your Power BI account, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to save it in my trainings workspace, but you guys can save it in your My Workspace as well. So I will save it in my trainings workspace. So the entire report and the data is going to get uploaded. Once that happens, you simply click and open it. The website is app.powerbi.com. That would be app.powerbi.com. You notice that the entire report is here. Everything is interactive, the way it was on Power BI desktop as well. And from here, if you would like to present it, you can just click on the view button and you can go full screen. Like a PowerPoint, you can present it like this. If you would like to download it, you can also export it both as a PDF and a PPT. But remember, the PPT is going to be a static PowerPoint. So nothing is going to be dynamic. It's just like a screenshot, which is in a PowerPoint format. That's all. If the data is public, then you can also create a public link, right? Like I'm doing right now. So if the data is public, if there is no confidential data in it, you can go to File, Embed, and Publish to Web. And once you do that, it will create a link for you, which I'm just putting on the chat window, and you can send it. So let's say you want to send something to, I don't know, the firm that you're working with or to your professors, you'll be able to do this. Just send them a link and they'll be able to view your report without having to do anything. No need to install anything or sign in or anything. They just click on the link and it opens like this, right? A fully interactive report. But this can only be done with public data, right? Because if the data is confidential, then you can't do it because your data will also become public when you do that. Also, certain things will not work. For example, my Q&A will not work here, right? When you share a link with someone.
Okay.
So it's very straightforward. No complexity here. That is how I put these reports on my website as well. Great. Any other question? Anyone? That's okay. You can ask me tomorrow as well, even afterwards. That's okay. But for today, I just want to start with Tableau. I know it's been a long session, but we'll start with Tableau. We'll continue tomorrow. Now, which version of Tableau do you have? Do you have Tableau student license or do you have Tableau public?
Student
Public
license.
one.
Okay. So let me also share about the differences. As a student, you get, I think, a 1-year license to Tableau for free. That would be the Tableau Professional Edition, right? Like Power BI is free of cost. Tableau is not free of cost. If you want to get Tableau, you have to pay $840 for 1 year, which is about 60,000 rupees. That is what I pay to Tableau every year. Obviously, you have Tableau Public as well. Tableau Public is a different software, which has a few lesser features in it. Most of the important features are there. Things like saving, PowerPoint saving, all of that is not there, but everything else works. Visualizations, formulas, everything works, right? So Tableau Public has been and will always be free of cost. Tableau Professional Edition will be paid, right? But as a student, you can put your student ID and you can get, I think, a 1-year license to Tableau for free. But for now, I'm going to work on Tableau Public. It doesn't matter which one we work on. Right? And this is the first interface that greets you. So we would like to connect to an Excel file, the same file which we were working on Power BI, right? My global superstore data. So I click on Excel and I select IMI, then datasets, and then marketing superstore. Okay? We will just create one visualization today. We'll continue tomorrow. Let me know if anybody has any trouble reaching this point. All okay? So very simple. We won't do much today. We click on the sheet and we can see that the interface is similar, but also quite different. So what we have here is pages. Pages are used for animations. You don't have animations with Power BI. Then you have filter, which is similar to how you have slicers on Power BI. You have filters there. This is your formatting option, which is called marks, which is where you can change the font color, text size, shapes, fill color, conditional formatting, all of that. All your fields are not on the right side, but they're on the left side. So all of these blue ones are your dimensions, which means text values, date, and geography. These are all blue color, which means they are dimensions. And then all of these are measures, which are green color, which is numbers, discount, profit, sales, quantity. Where are the visualizations? They are on the right side. Now, when you look at it for the first time, you must be wondering, but is that it? Like, we have heard that Tableau is a much more powerful data visualization tool than Power BI, which it is. But then are there only 21 visualizations available? Like in Power BI, there are more than 300 of them, right? So it's very interesting because in Tableau, you actually can't download anything new. What you have here, everyone, these 17, these 21 are the only options that you have. But the level of customizability and the way you can mix and match and the way you can, like I said, you can customize it is amazing. You can do stuff on Tableau, which you can't do on Power BI. So Power BI is easier because Power BI gives you 300 plus visualizations. Tableau only gives you 21, but it gives you a lot of flexibility the way you can change them. In Power BI, it's very rigid. You can't change them the way you want it, right? Okay. So like I said, we only want to do one single visual today, then we'll continue tomorrow. So what I would like you to do is to double click on the sales value and also double click on the anything you want. Let's say the market, right? And this will create a chart for you like this. So we double click on the market and we double click on the sales value. Another way of doing that is to drag your sales value in the rows like this, and then you can drag your market in the columns like this. It's a little bit like creating a pivot table. Like in a pivot, you put things in the rows and the columns. That is what you're doing here as well. Right? So it's a simple column chart. And what if you want to change the color? Like I want to have 5 different colors for all the 5 markets. So I can put my market in the color as well. So that will give me 5 different colors, which makes sense. But it's so interesting that if you keep your segment in the color, what will happen is it will break that into 3 colors, obviously, right? Because there are 3 segments that we have. So if you keep the segment in the color, it will break it into 3 colors. And if you would also like to show the value for sales, I can put my sales in the label and it will show me the value like this. Please try this, everyone. Then you also have the size. So if you put your sales in the size, then the width of your column will also change. So it's very interesting, the way the chart is coming. Like it's a little different to the standard charts that we create. And I can't do this sort of thing on Power BI. It doesn't give me that level of flexibility, what I have here. Okay. You can also swap it. This button, swap rows and columns, Control W, right? You get this. Yeah, so this is the only example I want to cover today.
So how you swap it? Just
tell me again.
Yeah, got it. Sorry.
Right. So swapping is Control W, right? Swap rows and columns like this. And to increase the height and the width, you can press Control with the arrow keys. So Control up, down, left, right, like this. That is a shortcut, right? Like you can also do that here. You have your Control up, down, left and right, okay? And we know that we have 3 categories. So if I put my category in the columns, then it will break it into 3 charts. I mean, I just wanted to show you how flexible it is, isn't it? Like compared to Power BI, it's so much smoother. I mean, see, I'm a Microsoft guy, right? I mean, I'm Power BI DA100 certified. I work on Power BI 50 times more than Tableau, right? 90% of my corporate consulting happens on Power BI. But it is what it is. If you honestly ask me, Power BI is like a Alto and Tableau is like a Mercedes, right? I mean, that's the difference. They both get you from point A to point B, but the level of, from a visualization perspective, the level of sophistication that you have in Tableau is unparalleled. Yes, but when you talk about formulas, data modeling, Power Query, it is so much better, Power BI, right, compared to Tableau. But from a data visualization point of view, nothing like Tableau. And you will see it, in more detail tomorrow. So yeah, we're going to stop here. If you have any questions, you can ask me.
Will you
I'll be
just
happy to
tell
answer.
one thing, like how you did the horizontal part?
I clicked on this button, this one. Swap rows and columns.
Okay.
Control W. From here.
Control W. Okay, got it.
So, but then you said that Power BI must think like more than important than Tableau.
So what did I say that Power BI is?
So, like you said earlier, that Power BI is must have thing, like it is more important than Tableau.
Yeah, from a job perspective, because in your work, you're not going to create visualizations all day, you have to do other things also. So if you go to Monster or Naukri and you look at job descriptions, you're going to find Power BI in, 9 times more than Tableau, right? So I'm not saying it because I have a preference, right? I'm just telling you what I see in the industry. I have also already shared with you the sort of clients I work with, right, in these couple of days. Every client that I'm showing you right now, okay, D-Shaw, Adani, hold on. Last month, I did training with Metropolis Healthcare. I worked with Sterlite Power. I worked with Vedanta. I worked with Jiva Ayurved. I worked with, there was a training for Sony, right? I worked with CBRE, which is one of the top 250 firms in the world. Every firm that I am showing you here is using Power BI, right? And I'm not saying that because I feel Power BI is better or anything. I'm just talking about the industry, right? How the industry is using all of these things. But Tableau is also very big, right? So Tableau now has it, because Tableau is owned by Salesforce, right? So Tableau has integration with Slack. And the Tableau Slack integration is fantastic. In fact, the latest update that has come to Tableau has improved the integration with Slack. So it's a growing market. Right now, we are at a stage where all of you are aware of the term called zero-sum game, right? A zero-sum game basically means that it's about a game theory, which says that one person's gain is equivalent to another's loss. So when I say that Power BI has 25 more Fortune 500 customers, it means that Tableau lost those customers. But it is not like that, because most big clients will never be working on one tool. They'll be working on multiple tools, right? Also, when I say that Power BI is growing 50%, it doesn't mean that Tableau is declining 50%, because everybody is growing right now. The market itself is growing. So obviously, when the market is growing, everybody is growing right now, right? What will happen after it settles, after 5 years or 6 years, that remains to be seen, right? That is where it will matter who's putting in more energy and effort behind it. As far as it stands right now, Power BI is ramping up so fast compared to Tableau, right? And there are many reasons for it. There is a cost factor, there is a learning factor, there is a marketing factor, how Microsoft is targeting clients and pitching to them to start using Power BI. So there are many reasons that come into play. So I'm not saying that I am the authority to tell you what is more important. I'm just telling you from my experiences. You should definitely speak to everybody else around you and ask them, what do you use in your organization, right? What does a Unilever use, or what does a Tata Motors use, right? But you'll be surprised, maybe not surprised, to see that 8 out of 10 times you're going to hear Power BI over Tableau.
So that means it's just because of the functions and the
There are
dynamic.
many reasons for it. See, Tableau, Power BI has a full stack, right? So the fact that Power BI is integrated now with Microsoft Teams, with Power Automate, with Power Apps, right? It has made Power BI more of a business intelligence tool. Tableau is a data visualization tool. Power BI is a business intelligence tool. Even in Tableau, you have something called Tableau Prep, which is a competitor to Power Query, basically, right? So this is how Tableau Prep looks. It came a few years back, like this. Same concept. Like, remember we were taking 17, 18, 19, 20, and we were joining it. Then we did a merge, right? Same thing we can do in Tableau Prep as well. And then we did an unpivoting. Do you see this? Unpivoting. So the same thing that we were doing in Power Query, we can do in Tableau Prep as well. But then one of the big reasons for Tableau to have a declining share, at least in India, is the cost factor, right? Because Tableau is really costly. Like, I'm paying 56,000 per year for Tableau. For the same set of features in Power BI, actually more than what Tableau offers me, I'm paying 9,600. That's a huge difference, right? Like, for me, I'm an independent consultant. For me, it's an absolute difference of, let's say, whatever, 46,000 rupees, right? Whatever, 45,000 rupees. But the point is that for an organization with 100 people or 500 people, it starts to add up, right? That's a big reason, right? The cost factor is a big reason, but there are many other reasons as well. Like, if the organization is using Slack, if they're using Salesforce a lot, then Tableau might be a good option for them. But if they're using other Microsoft products like Office and SharePoint, then Power BI is a better integration for them. But there is no clear answer. I can't just tell you 5 points and say, okay, this is the reason. No, it's not that simple, right? There are many thoughts and evaluations that go behind the decision when an organization is deciding what to purchase. We usually refer to something called a TCO, which is referred to as the total cost of ownership, from the purpose of purchasing a software, right? So when you talk about the TCO of Tableau versus Power BI, you will see here that, I mean, of course, you can't really compare it apples to apples, but generally speaking, with Power BI, the advantage is free. Tableau will cost you $70 per month, right? $840 per year. But there are also thoughts that say that from a total cost of ownership perspective for a large organization, there is not much difference, right, between Power BI and Tableau. So, like I said, there are many factors that will come into play when it comes to deciding what tool to use. But like, I'll give you an example. I did a training for Cargill, not now, pre-COVID. So this must be 2019. 19, right? Or 2019. 2019. I did a training for Cargill. Cargill, for those of you, I'm sure most of you know Cargill. Cargill is like a $200 billion giant. Maybe not 200 billion, I'm mistaken. 114 billion. Still, really large firm, right? So Cargill is a family-owned business, very large. Cargill was working on Tableau, and they are very close with Tableau. So for a long time, Cargill and Tableau have been working together, right? You can see this even on the Tableau website. They talk about how Cargill uses Tableau. But Cargill hired me for a Power BI training because they said we are exploring the possibility of shifting to Power BI. So see, there are no permanent enemies, there are no permanent friends. At the end of the day, an organization has to look at cost and other factors. It's not that, oh, I have been using it for 10 years, so I will continue to use it. Of course not. It takes a second for an organization to shift from one tool to the other. Right? So you should read a lot. You should Google it, Power BI versus Tableau. Go to blogs, go to forums, read about what people say, go to Quora, try to understand whatever jobs are available, go to Monster, do your research, right? There's a lot of research that you will have to do, okay? I can only tell you bullet points from my experiences and half answers, but then for you to have your own assessment, you really need to do this on your own, right? Anyway, we have time tomorrow as well, so we can continue this discussion. Anything else that you would like to ask anyone?
I wanted to ask regarding that, like what you were talking just now regarding the explorer or know more about the role and things. So, is it the right stage to explore in this direction, or we are just learning right now, right? So I'm not very sure. Like, should I wait or should I start exploring the options or a role or profile that companies or different organization have for analytics?
Are all of you in first year right now?
I guess so.
Yes, sir.
All of you in
Probably.
first years. See, you have to start building a portfolio right now. Okay, it takes time to build a portfolio. It's not easy, and you can't wait to first finish the learning and then start your preparation and your portfolio. You have to do it right away. So when I introduced you to Sanjay for that guest session, Sanjay did a 4-month internship with me, and he started working on his website day one. Right? He started his internship in February, and he has constantly kept on improving and adding more and more things. Like he recently started a podcast as well. I mean, I invited him for the podcast here, right? And look at the type of projects that he has been working on. So he learned all these things. He's an MBA finance from Tapmi, Jaipur. He figured out how to make a website on Google Sites for free. He learned to do the little bit of development work required, and he prepared his entire website with no external help, right? He figured out his shit on his own, and look at the sort of stuff that he has done. Right? I mean, he's worked on amazing projects, and just look at the sort of clients he worked with. So, I mean, he worked with me. He did his internship with me from February, March, April, May, right? And I got him placed at ABB Hitachi. He worked with me for Sterlite Power, for Allianz, for Adani, for ET, right? I gave him the opportunity because he really put his heart and soul into it. And he worked really hard, constantly tried to find out areas for improvement, what he's not good at, and try to improve on that, right? So, yeah, I mean, you guys have to start preparing your portfolio right away. And then in terms of what you want to do and what you don't want to do, I think the process of elimination is the best thing. Ask yourself what you definitely don't want to do. That is always an easier thing than figuring out what you're interested in, right? So today you might be listening to me and you say, oh, Havish does very exciting work and he does this and he does that. I also want to go into data analytics. That is not done. No, tomorrow you might have somebody coming from sales, some senior business leader who will excite you about sales. So, you know, everything is exciting, nothing is exciting. It depends on what is the right fit for you, right? So sure, it's maybe a little early, but then learning data handling and data analytics is not a choice, right? Like if you say, should I learn the stock market if I'm not a finance student? I might say it depends. Are you interested in it or not? It's an added skill, right? It's a hobby, right? Learning communication skills or learning presentation skills or learning how to handle Excel or Power BI is not a choice. Whoever you are, whatever area you will work in, whatever type of jobs you apply to and internships you go to, you have to work on these tools, right? This is your lifeblood. You have to work on it. 80% of the time that you spend in a lot of profiles is spent between Excel, PowerPoint, and Power BI, right? So this is not even a question that should I or should I not? You have to. Yeah, the question is, should I pursue a career in data or not? I don't know. That you will figure out over a period of time. Like you have had some interaction with me. Interestingly, I always tell people, I don't think you should go into the data profession unless you're very sure that this excites you. If sitting in front of an Excel file for 5 hours doesn't excite you, if figuring out how to write a formula and spend 3 hours on it and reading 100 articles doesn't excite you, then probably a career in data is not for you, right? So I always dissuade people. I tell them, no, if you want to be in data, make sure you really like it, okay? It's very interesting. No, people who don't work in data will tell you data is a great profession. I work in data. I will tell you data is probably not the right fit for you. You have to figure that out on your own, right? I don't think more than 10% of you should get into data analytics, to be very honest with you, as a profession, as a career choice. But yes, you might be a project manager or a product manager or an HR business partner or in supply chain or in financial analytics with a high level of knowledge of data. That makes sense. So you might say that I want to apply to a big four, to a consulting profile, and I want to be an advanced user of Excel. That makes sense. So it's not that you are going to become a data analyst. You might be a financial analyst that also does a lot of data work. See, all these things, I think Sanjay will be much better suited at answering. I understand my limitation. I'm not the best person to answer all this for you for a number of reasons, because I have not really worked in the corporate for too long. I only worked in the corporate for 3 years before charting my own journey, right? Also, the last interview that I gave was in, 2009. So it's been a while since I gave an interview. So I don't really understand from an interview point of view and all what happens and how to prepare and all. I can tell you from a skill perspective what you need to learn for the next 5 years, right? But I think Sanjay would be the right person because he's been there. He has been giving these interviews and he does a lot of this work, right? And he's very passionate about it, very knowledgeable about it. So I think you would really like that interaction that you have with him. So make sure to ask him a lot of questions. Good. One last question. Anyone?
So we can directly approach you or Sanjay sir.
Anytime,
Like-
anytime. I am always one email, one text message away. I might not reply to you like ASAP, like not ASAP, but promptly. If you expect a 24-hour reply, that might not happen. But you will always get a reply. It will never happen that you don't. And it's not just that you guys are doing a workshop with me. Any student I have interacted with like 10,000 students, right? So any student who comes to me, I will always take out the time to reply. Of course, if you come back to me and say, what is the difference between Power BI and Tableau? I'm not going to do your research for you. I'm not going to do your homework for you. If you come back and say that I have made a dashboard and I would like your feedback on it, I'll be more than happy to spend some time on it, right? Or if you've written an article or you've made a video and you would like to say, I want to get your inputs on it. Or if I have prepared a case study for a competition and I would like your feedback on it, I will do that. But if you say that I am applying for a competition, I would like to know from you what to make, I'm not going to do that, right? Feedback, I'm always there, but I'm not your free consultant. I'm not going to do free consulting work for you, right? So I will always be available for you for any feedback that you have, right? So if you're applying to a job or to an internship or to a live project, and you want to ask me that, I'm applying to, I don't know, CRED tomorrow for a live project opportunity. This is what I have prepared. Do you think this is enough or should I do something more? I will tell you these are gaps in your portfolio, right? But if you come to me and say that I have an interview with CRED tomorrow, tell me what to prepare. I'm not going to do that for you. You have to do your homework first. Then you have to come to me and I will help you fill the gaps, right? But I'm not going to help you from scratch. I will only help you if you help yourself, right? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Excellent. On that note, we will call it a day. So we will resume tomorrow. We'll have a 1.5 hour session. So we continue with Tableau for about 45 minutes to an hour, whatever is required. And then the balance, we will continue with PowerPoint. You do have 2 sessions, 30 minutes with Anubhav and Sanjay. I'm not sure when to do that. You let me know whatever time is comfortable to you. Both those guys have a full-time job. So they will only be available on a weekday after 7 p.m. or something. So we can always plan it, maybe 30 minutes one day, 30 minutes the next day. If you would like to do it over the next weekend, that is also okay. It's not that you have to do it in a hurry. Whenever you are comfortable, you want to do it after 10 days, you can do it after 10 days also, right? Both of them are friends and colleagues of mine. So I will ask them to come whenever you guys want them to come.
Sure, sir.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow at the same time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.